Adam, are you there?
Oh, I'm here. I'm sorry. Welcome everyone to this new edition of Tech Tricks and Tips. This is getting to know the WebUI. To start off, I just wanted to start by saying how relevant I thought this subject was, especially with our new Dimension command management console that is now coming out and becoming more and more prevalent. With that, we get the logs and reports in real time, and we give you the ability to click on a firewall and actually make changes that you see that are necessary from the live logs and reports. That being said, some people, you know, are the old school and kind of go with the WSM, but I think we should give it another chance because it has been reinvigorated, and I think you guys are going to see some really cool things. So let's get started with a quick little slide deck, and then I will go into some demo pieces to show you what it's all about. First off is our agenda, and I'm going to start off by just giving you a quick overview on how to get to the WebUI, and then I'll show you some of the new looks and then the new features, and then, like I said, we'll go into some live demo. How to get there. This is a pretty simple concept, especially if you've used it in the past, or if you've only used WSM, this might be new information for you. So as you can see, another number 2 down here, this is the WatchGuard WebUI policy that comes default on the firewall. But if you're on your internal LAN, you're just going to, and this is just an example, you're just going to type https:// your internal IP address :8080. And then you would use your admin or status password or your Active Directory username and password if you have that integrated. If you're on an external WAN network, you can connect via VPN to your internal network and then just use the above directions. This is the most secure method of getting to the WebUI. You can also add a static IP address of a remote laptop or desktop that you're using and add it to the WebUI policy on the from, and just a static IP address, and this is also very secure. And if neither one of those methods are going to work, you can add any external to the WatchGuard Fireware XTM WebUI policy, and this is considered the least secure because it's kind of opening up a big hole for people to get to your management console. So in short, that's how to get to the WatchGuard WebUI. And now in the past, if you had been to the WebUI, it was kind of chunky, kind of clunky, you didn't really know where to click, and it wasn't very attractive to look at. But since the new renovation, it now has new colors and new navigation options and a brand new login page. So it's much flashier, much easier on the eyes. There's a new name, the Fireware WebUI, new menus and widget colors and fonts, the new buttons for the log out and the help, as you can see in the top right-hand corner with the question mark and the little person symbol. And you also can expand and collapse the main menu to make the other screen bigger. There's new tab and list headers, colors and capitalization, and new options to lock and unlock the configuration. And this way you don't make a change by accident. You have to actually unlock the lock, make the change, save it, then relock the lock to continue on. And this is also is relevant for desktops and laptops, tablets, and mobile devices. It actually fits to the screen rather than you having to scroll over with a bar on the bottom. It actually just shrinks and fits to whatever device you're using. Here's some of the new features, and with this, I'm kind of jumping ahead a little bit because I'm going to show you some some features for the 11.11 beta. This is actually due GA next week, so just to give you a little quick preview. Some of the new features and enhancements, we have network visibility, which is a new feature to show all devices on your network per interface, and I will show you that in the demo shortly. There's also the mobile security, which deals with the BYOD of internal networks, either through VPN or wirelessly through your internal network. New botnet detection, which is a new subscription service added to our suite. An explicit proxy, which allows you to use the firewall as an explicit proxy server, as opposed to using another one on your network. Kind of combines the processes. We're allowed Google app domains, multiple hotspot portals, which means you can add a hotspot for multiple interfaces on your firewall. New Radius single sign-on, and BOVPN virtual interface interoperability. This just means we allow GRE through third-party vendors such as Cisco. And the feature enhancements, not just additions, is we added another level onto the APT, which is the clean threat. And there are definitely enhancements to the gateway wireless controller. There are fire cluster upgrade improvements, a new loopback interface, and 32-bit BGP AS number support. Now, I just wanted to kind of go over that slide deck, and now I think I'll kind of move straight into the demo part, because that's generally what everybody wants to see. So we'll go straight into that. Thank you for your time and that quick little deck. And now we're going to go straight into, as you can see, I logged in through my internal IP scheme, :8080. And this is the front panel. Now, this is definitely new compared to the old WebUI. And if anyone out there is using Dimension, it kind of looks the same. And as you can see, I have Active Directory integration, so you can see me. And I'm the only one on my network, so that's the only username you're going to see. And over here, you can see some general information about your firewall, the name, your version, serial number. And down here, you can see kind of some things about clients, destinations, applications, policies. And over here, you can kind of see some how much bandwidth you're using through either external, the VPN, your CPU, and your memory. Now, what's nice about this is you can change the time over here from the shortest of 20 minutes to the longest of 7 days. And it also gives you the ability to reboot your firewall from here. Now, as you can see from the dashboard, the first things that we give you are kind of considered, I wouldn't say most important, but kind of higher value, other than the actual, firewall policies. This kind of gives you an overview of the traffic and everything going on in your network. So here's the front panel, and then next we're going to look at subscription services. So subscription services, you can see the gateway antivirus, you can see the viruses found, the scan, and you can even manually update all these straight from this console. My intrusion prevention, you can see it's found 7 intrusions, web blocker, TLP, spam blocker, which I don't have turned on, so there's not much going on over there. APT blocker, and here's our new botnet detection. Botnet detection combines along with gateway antivirus to combat against botnets, which are computers that combine together and steal information and push back to a server somewhere. This is just another added layer to our security suite. And these signature sets come straight from Kaspersky. So again, we're using a field leader, and we're adding their subscriptions signature sets to another subscription service on our firewall to add to our best in breed. And last but not least, a reputation-enabled defense, and you can see what's going on down here. The next thing is Firewatch. Firewatch is another feature on Dimension, and as you can see, consider this your whole internet pipe. And as you can see, I'm using up the most bandwidth on my network. And what's nice is these are all pivot points, so you can click on filter, and you can see where I've been, and you can filter down further and further. So now you see my name up there, and you can see, down here, and it's kind of changing as the traffic is flowing through the network. To go back to Firewatch, you can see the destinations where I've been going, the applications I'm using, and then the actual policies I'm using. And then the interfaces I'm using. As you can see, all of this is pretty much based out of my local LAN network. And then the interface out, which of course is my external IP, my external interface. Okay. Along with the Firewatch, we go down next to interfaces. Interfaces just shows you the bandwidth and traffic flowing through the interfaces on your firewall. Now, as these over here, you can see I have them configured, but I don't have anything plugged into them, so you're not going to see much going on. But you can click on these and actually, you know, sent, received, sent, received. So it's a lot of valuable information just in the first couple of tabs on this dashboard. Now, along with that, you can actually see details of the interfaces if they're up or they're down, and their names. And next on here is Traffic Monitor. Traffic Monitor, you guys will recognize from System Manager, and it's exactly the same. But the only thing that's different about this Traffic Monitor is it doesn't give you the ability to right-click. The right-click used to, you could open up settings and you could change kind of the look of the Traffic Monitor. But all that's down a little lower on some other tabs, and I'll show you when we get there. Now, below Traffic Monitor is a Gateway Wireless Controller. Now, this is one of the greatest things that I appreciate about the WebUI, especially with our access points becoming really, really good in selling, and everybody's really appreciating it, and we're kind of intertwining that into all of our management consoles, with the WebUI really taking the lead. So as you can see, there's some traffic going on. I have 2 access points in my environment. And the 2 SSIDs, I have a guest and a corporate network. And then you'll see the two devices that are connected. Now what's really cool about this is you can actually create a map of your environment. And so unfortunately, I have an office in my house, and my access points are almost sitting right beside each other, so that's kind of why they look like that. But if you want to see some, if you're in an office building or something and you're getting lots of channel conflict, you can actually click this, the channel conflict, and you can see all the access points in your environment. So these are my 2 access points, and you can see all those access points that are kind of hanging on. And it's nice over here, so once you click on these and you see the little orange lines, you can actually click a legend, and it'll tell you exactly what all the lines and the colors mean. So even from the dotted lines to the solid lines, obviously red is bad. So red, you have a definite a channel conflict with an access point in your area. If you click sticky access points, it'll show you which of these foreign access points are going to stick to what access point is in your that you're supporting in your environment. So you can see over here, I highlight the AP300, and these access points in the front are stuck to this one. And if I highlight this one, it's some of these access points over here that are actually my neighbor's houses. So, but if I want to highlight this guy, click View Details, it'll actually show the map, and then you go down and you can actually see all the foreign access points in your environment and the conflicts that are arising. That way you can kind of take that upon yourself to go either set your access point to change channels automatically, or you can manually change the channel just to get move away from that conflict. You can click on access points, and it gives you more information on your particular access points. You can create a site survey of all access points in your area, the log messages. You can flash the LEDs, and it just gives you a little more information on the clients. And the BSSIDs, that just is the MAC address of access points that are not yours. So this just shows you the access points that are not mine, that are in the general area. So that is pretty much a summary of the Gateway Wireless Controller on the WebUI. Very powerful tool, lots of stuff that is very helpful, and I think in a bigger environment would be very useful for a lot of clients and partners out there. Now, mobile security is a brand new service that we've just added. And as you can see, all it takes is a Fire client downloaded either from the App Store or Google Store, and you just add this client to a phone, an Android or an iOS phone, and you just click on the client, and as you'll see, I'm going to do it right now. I'm adding my password to my phone, and I'm logging in, and it says my phone is compliant, it's not jailbroken, and it has the most up-to-date iOS firmware. So as you can see in just a second, it'll say passed. Now I just click on that, and as I said, this is for BYOD purposes. If you're bringing your own device into your corporate network, they want to know that you don't have viruses, you're not on a jailbroken phone, and everything is up to compliancy. So you can see the Fire client is connected, and the device has passed compliance check. So this is a new service, and I think that's really going to catch on as well, because BYOD is definitely not going away. Now that's just the dashboard. Now going down to system status, I'm going to kind of run through these a little quicker. So the ARB table shows you everything that's connected to your network. As you can see, the IP address, MAC address, what interface it's connected to. Authentication list just shows you all the users that are authenticated. These are 2 of mine. How I'm authenticated through the authentication portal, and this one's through the Fire client, and then the IP addresses I'm pulling. Block sites, or whatever sites have been blocked either by policy or manually, and I have none in there. And checksum components list, DHCP leases, diagnostics. I'm going to kind of just skip over that. You guys can go back and look at those. It's kind of more hardware information, and it's not really relevant unless you get into some serious support issues. So DynDNS shows you if you need a dynamic DNS for your firewall. I have one set up. I don't use it, but it's there if I need it. Hotspot clients. This is where you're using a hotspot. I'm not currently using that in my environment, but if anybody needs any information on that, just let me know. I'll send it to you. Live security is just showing updates that have been done in the past and a link to get to them. And network security is a new service that we're offering. This is a really cool one. I think people will get a lot of use out of this. Now, I ran my scan previously because I only have 10 devices, and it took a little while. So people in bigger environments, please don't be surprised or alarmed if it takes a couple of hours, because it does lots of scans. It scans for ports, for the operating system, etc. But it's really nice because this is my internal LAN network, and as you can see, this shows the interface, and this shows the IP address of the interface, and this just actually shows what devices are connected to that interface. And you can actually click on these and see that it has sent traffic. Here's some of the relevant information for that device, and they're all right here. That's nice because that's my internal network. Now here is my management, my VLAN management. Sorry about this, give me 1 second. And now this actually shows my 2 access points that are connected. And if I go down to wireless guest, it'll show you my laptop that's connected to my guest network. And if I look at my corporate network, it'll show you my iPhone that's connected. And along with this nice diagram, we also give you the ability to look at the devices in a list. So here are all the devices, the OS version, IP address, when it was last seen, and if the device is approved. So I think this is a really, really important new feature that we're offering to give you the network discovery and visibility of what's going on, and to be able to account for everything that's on your network. If you see a foreign device, you can actually, you can act upon that find the, you'll have the MAC address handy, and you can either MAC block it or just block it outright. So that is network discovery. Next is the processes and routes. I'm going to kind of skip over that. Server connection kind of shows you the ability to test the connection if you're authenticating with Active Directory, if it's actually working. And you can do that really easy right from this little tab. Type in my username and password, and it shows I connected okay. And what group membership I have. And these are all the memberships that I have on that domain. So if I went to my domain controller, I would look at all these OU groups, and my username would be added to all these. That's just a nice little thing to have to be able to check before you go. You're wondering why it's not working, you can kind of look in this, this place for it. Now, traffic management is a newer form of QoS to where you can actually put time and bandwidth limits on policies. So if, say, for instance, you had a guest wireless network and you wanted to limit the bandwidth or time for users on that network, or policies for that network, that you can set them up here. As you can see on this one, I have a traffic management limit of 10 megs. Now I can add that to any policy, and anybody that is behind that policy or using that policy, once they get to 10 megs, they'll have a pop-up on their screen that says they've hit their limit. It's kind of nice in schools, libraries, that kind of thing, where they don't want users just sitting there hogging bandwidth all day. Next is users and roles, and this just shows me being the device administrator. Quotas is kind of the same thing. You can put time and bandwidth quotas on either users or policies. And next is the VPN statistics, and these are all drag and drop VPNs that I broke when I changed firewalls. So that's why they're showing errors, but this is where you would do that. Next is the network, and we're going to show the interfaces, another place to see what's going on all the interfaces of your firewall, my external, my internal, my MPLS, my DMZ, and my VLANs for my wireless. ARP entries is kind of self-explanatory. We've kind of gone over that. VLANs, this shows all my VLANs from my wireless networks. Now bridge, this is where you would, if you have a few leftover ports that you're not using, you can actually create a bridge network, and they'll all have the same IP scheme, and you can kind of use them like a dummy switch. Loopback is a new feature that we've just added. And multi-WAN is if you have multiple ISP providers. This is where you can show up and you can add them from, I actually have to click my lock to make the change. You can actually show where you can have them in failover, round robin, interface overflow, if you want to disperse all your stuff that way. And NATs, DynDNS, dynamic routing, we can dig into that stuff at a later date if you guys feel it necessary. Gateway wireless controller, this is actually where you would set up what is going on underneath the dashboard. So I enable it here. This is where you would pair your access points. You actually plug them in. They show up down here, and then you would hit pair. Then they would move up to the paired access points. And this new feature is new. You can auto deploy SSIDs to the new, to actually unpaired access points. This is where you configure SSIDs for the access points, and the settings for the access points where you would configure logging, discovery broadcast, alarms if they go offline, and MAC access control. And here's where you set up how you'd be notified if the access points go offline, if you have those boxes checked and you want a SNMP trap or an email or a pop-up notification. And we also give you the feature to set up dial-up modems, and I'm not going to go over that. And here's where you set up, just like WSM, here's where you actually configure and add and configure the policies for the traffic on your firewall. It's very similar. If you want to edit, you just check the box beside the policy, click action, and if you want to edit the policy, add a tag to it, And if you want to add a policy, you just click this box and it'll show all the policies you can add. Mobile VPN policies. This just shows you what is created by default once you enable some of the VPNs. The aliases that have been created once you configure your interfaces. And here are the proxy actions once you add proxies to your firewall and you go down to the proxy actions. This just lists them all in one place. Traffic management, this is where you would actually configure what's going on. You can add more time management limits, traffic management limits, I'm sorry, and the interfaces that they are leveraged against. Scheduling, you can actually turn off policies after a certain time. And as you can see, all mine are always on, but you can actually turn them off and turn them on. Set them if you want to turn them off at 5 o'clock on a Friday. You only want them on during the work hours. This is where you would do it. You can create static NAT rules here. Default packet handling here. This is where you can block sites either manually or if you want to import an entire list of them. And this is the default blocked ports. And you can add to this list or remove some of these if you are in that situation. Another place to set up the quotas is here, and the mobile security that we looked at when I configured my phone is here. And as you can see, enable mobile security and device compliance. As you can see, the Android, do not allow rooted devices, malware, adware, and then you can change that to iOS. And it says must be compliant with iOS firmware 8 or 9. And the device protection, you can change it from Android to iOS. And the device agreement, this shows up when you are logging into your FireWire client. I added that. You can add whatever you want. And down here is where you actually configure your subscription services. I'd like to stop real quick. I know I'm running kind of late. There's a lot of stuff to cover. I'm kind of running through this stuff. If anyone needs to drop off and you have questions, please feel free to leave them. I might go a few minutes over, so I'd love for you guys to stay, so please do if you have a chance. The subscription services, you can see here's application control. And as you can see, most of our subscription services can either be globally, which is considered like an umbrella over all the policies, or you can change them per policy on if you need different applications changed by that policy. And Web Blocker, here's the actions, here's the policies that have been created, and you can actually run through the wizard that makes things a lot easier on you. Now, Gateway Antivirus shows you the policies that I have it leveraged against and the settings, and once again, the WebUI gives you the capability to use a wizard. And I'm just going to kind of run through these, but botnet detection is really nice. It's on by default, and you can actually, the only thing that you need to do is just click Update Server and check this box so it's updated automatically through this website already in there by WatchGuard. Now, authentication, we give you the ability to integrate with Active Directory. You do that, you click on servers. As you can see, I have a domain already included, and I've already tested mine, so you guys saw that it worked. Here are some users and groups. As you can see, I have hotspot SSL users because I have SSL already activated. And web server certificates, not really going to get into that. Single sign-on, as you can see, we can use Active Directory or Radius for single sign-on. And I just added this firewall to my network, so I haven't gotten around to the full configuration. This is where you can integrate terminal services. And this is where you can establish, you can change up and really personalize your authentication portal. Kind of add my name, you know, just change the colors and that kind of stuff, so you can preview my splash screen. That's what my authentication portal looks like. But it does have a WatchGuard symbol there. Here's where you would add the VPNs, be it branch office, which is WatchGuard to WatchGuard or WatchGuard to a different third-party device, and it's usually office to office. And now these are the mobile VPNs that we offer: IPsec, PPTP, SSL, and L2TP. And these are just the global VPN settings. Now down here in System, this is where it gives you information on your firewall, the names that I've given it, my time zone, the feature key, all the feature sets, all the subscription services that I have, NTP, SMTP. Not going to get into that. Manage device. This is where you would actually change if you're going to use Dimension Command. You would check this box, this tab, and actually change it to Dimension Command. And then that's when you would start your full management through your Dimension server. Network discovery, and this shows you when I did the scan and you saw all the different interfaces. This is where I selected what interfaces I wanted to show the devices on. Now, once again, the more interfaces you select, the more users and devices behind that, the longer the scan's going to take. So just be leery of that and just be aware. So going down, logging, this is where you would send your information to your Dimension server. As you can see, I have mine going to WSM and Dimension. So we give you the ability to log in 2 different places. Diagnostic log, I'm not really going to get into that. That's pretty much if you're dealing with support and they want to up the diagnostic level or whatever you're trying to figure out. Upgrade OS, this is where you can upgrade to the newest OS version. As you can see, I'm using the beta, so it's not even available. This is where you would back up your image, and this is where you would restore the backup image. And down here, we have the USB ports available, so if you have a USB drive connected, you would just add the file name and the encryption keys, and you could save it straight to the USB drive. Again, here's another place for the users and roles, the 3 defaults, but WG support is disabled by default, and my Active Directory username and domain. Config file, this is where you could save the configuration file for your entire firewall. And here's where you could actually create a configuration report. That's really nice if anybody wants to get around to doing that. It takes a minute or 2 to do, so I'm not going to do it. And this is where you could actually create a logon disclaimer for anybody logging onto the firewall. And this is just a little information about WatchGuard. I truly apologize if I talked a little fast. I knew I was running out of time, but hopefully a few of you stuck around and got something out of this. There's a lot to it, and I really pushed it to do all this in 35 minutes. But if anybody has any questions or would like some more information on anything I went over, please let me know. And I think that just about does it for this Tech Tricks and Tips, and I appreciate everyone taking some time out of their Friday. Everyone have a great weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. Great job. Thank you, everyone, for joining. I will leave the webinar up for just another minute or 2 in case anyone has any additional questions for Adam. If not, please feel free to drop. Thank you again for joining. Have a great rest of your day and a great weekend, and we'll speak with you again next month. Thanks very much.